Hello, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Nerds of the North podcast, episode number 33. Episode 33, the first episode in the year of our Lord 2022. As always, I'm host number one, Matt, and joining me, as always, is host number two,
Nick.
And today we're going to be talking about a ton of different movies. We all probably were watching a lot of films over the course of the holiday. I know that I did. I know Nick did as well. So we'll be kind of going through all of our films that we watched, things we liked, things we didn't like, and stuff we'll be planning on watching in the near future, at least for myself. I know I missed a few things, but so Nick, why don't you kick us off here? One, how was your holiday? And then two, what movies did you watch or shows? Like, give us the rundown.
Yeah, thanks for asking those beautifully worded questions. I went to Montana.
I word things beautiful.
I went to Montana, which is the originator, you might say, of this program. And where it gets its name, Nerds of the North, because Montana is of the North, it turns out. And yeah, it was a really good time. I got to see my mom and my grandparents. I got to see Matt's parents as well, which was great. I even went to Applebee's with Matt's dad, which was a great experience, I have to say.
High class dining in Montana. They know about salt.
You know what? I'm a basic person, so I really love Applebee's. I go to Applebee's almost once a week out here. It might surprise people to know that, but it's true. I just learned a new word actually too. Have you heard the word Cheugy? Cheugy?
It sounds like a slur off the cuff.
It turns out that we are both Cheugy, Matt. Then this is a slang word that I guess the Gen Z is using to describe millennials.
Really?
Yeah, the term is commonly claimed to, it says pejorative to describe lifestyle trends associated with the early 2010s and millennials. This aesthetic has been described as the opposite of trendy or trying too hard. So some examples of Cheugy is the live, laugh, love, or the live, love, laugh signs that you see in some people's homes.
Okay, that's fine.
The term girl boss.
Okay, that's hysterical.
Women wearing Uggs. Those
sure. That's a bit of a reach, but okay.
Just general millennial things like being into Harry Potter or using the laughing crying face emoji. Keep calm and carry on. Drinking red wine.
Drinking red wine.
Yeah.
Look, we learned that from the boomers. Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess it's just kind of lame. It's sort of just being a lame-o. I guess for some reason the Minions are considered Cheugy.
Minions? I feel like that's late era millennial.
Yeah.
I would almost argue that would be more of a Gen Z. That's something they probably enjoyed as children.
I mean, just looking at these examples, to me, it more seems Cheugy refers to female millennials rather than male millennials. But
yeah, not that I wouldn't mock a bro that had live, laugh, love on his walls as a bachelor.
I guess Dunder Mifflin, so the Office stuff might be considered something of a Chug would do. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know why I got caught up on this.
No, I mean that's funny. Like I've never heard that before. I tend to be quite woke, up on the cool trends with kids nowadays.
Yeah, I just heard that word or term yesterday, so definitely was an eye-opening experience for a Cheugy person like me, who is definitely of a millennial variety.
So was your waitress at Applebee's be like, oh, you're such a Cheugy,
you Cheugy? No, we were talking about slang words that Gen Z use these days.
Sure.
And that came up. So words like busing and no cap and that are on fleek, stuff like that.
Sure. Things I've used in ironic contexts.
No cap.
Yeah. No, oh God. Yeah. I've heard a variation of that I actually do like, and it's no shot. Like no shot, is that for real or something like that?
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
kind of like no shot. Because as a
Yeah,
person who swears constantly, finding something that fills the void of like no shit, like no shot kind of fits nicely.
yeah. I don't feel like when we were young that we had all these crazy terms that no one understood though. So I don't know if it's an internet thing. Not that we didn't have our own things that we used, like trying to think of sucks or that I don't I'm stupid words that kids use that with each other. I don't think that there was anything that we use that the adults wouldn't understand.
I'm really trying to think. Yeah, because like I'm thinking like cool, sick, uh
Rad
I mean, like rad, I guess, but like I feel like those were just like reused assets from like previous, like I feel like previous
generations.
generations used
Yeah.
those terms long before we did. We're not quite like cat's pajamas over here, but like we're definitely in like the rad, cool, awesome, era
Yeah.
of like,
Well, I think it was bad because like what you said once about Invincible, that comic book using some terms that were sort of dated now. Like back in the day, saying something's gay wasn't that uncommon of a thing that people said
yeah. I
as
mean, there
a
was a
like a
whole
pejorative.
South Park episode like around that whole notion,
Yeah.
like which was like definitely, I think, as far as South Park episodes go, hasn't aged nearly as well as some other episodes have. But like, regardless, the point still stands. Yeah, like things that we thought were totally fine to say, totally don't. I feel like the two that come to my mind were, yeah, like you said, gay being used as a prerogative or as a
Pejorative.
yeah pejorative. Thank you, and then retarded. Like that was another one that like got bantied about regularly.
I
Like,
don't know. I feel like that one's making a comeback with Wall Street memes and stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah, see, like I feel like that one just kind of went away for a while, but like is steering back, I would agree. Like,
Well, I think it's more used ironically these days than anything else.
because
But
like,
those guys are hilarious on that
mhm.
subreddit.
Oh yeah, they're ridiculous. And like it, well, there's a what was that Rick and Morty episode? That was years ago, I guess, when that season originally came out. But when Rick was they were it was like the episode where the where Summer worked at like Satan's shop selling curios that like curse you.
Needful Things. It was a
Yeah.
play on a Stephen King novel.
And yeah, like the telescope that would have made him, retarded. And he said it was like it would have made me mentally retarded. He's like, oh, I don't know if you could say that, Rick. It's like, why? It would literally do what I'm saying. It would make me mentally retarded. Like,
I don't even
just
remember that. That's funny.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, like maybe it's just like we're blind to the words that we used back then that like
Yeah.
either because we don't use them now or because like they don't seem like weird words, but back then it was like totally normal, but for kids now it's
I
something
don't know.
that
I
seems
still
super out of
people
touch.
use like retarded as something. Not even on like Wall Street memes, but I've heard people say that out in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And I just usually just ignore it because I'm like, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna start something with that. I don't really it's things have gotten really out of control as far as people being get sensitive about some stuff, and it's not worth it to me. So
Yeah, no, I
anyway,
mean,
before we jump down a whole rabbit
yeah,
hole
no,
of
we got
controversy,
a whole slew of things to talk about
I'm
here.
just gonna say that word. You shouldn't use it in a context like that. So just
Mhm.
to so I don't get in trouble.
See,
Anyway,
now I'm thinking about conversation. Yeah, no, because it just reminds me of Twitch banning using the words virgin and simp being
oh
used in
really?
like negative contexts.
Simp is they banned simp.
Yeah, they banned simp.
Interesting.
So like you
If
can't
this
say
video is gonna get
someone's
demonetized now, Matt.
no, see, that's Twitch. This is YouTube.
I don't know.
Land of the
YouTube's probably gonna.
land of the free, home of the simps over here.
I mean, I think I've fully just accepted that I am a simp at this point, and there's nothing I can do about it. And the main problem with simps, I think, as well,
Mhm.
is that most of them don't. Most simps, I think, like they don't realize that they're simps. So as long as I'm a realization that that's who I am.
As long as you're keenly aware that you give
Yeah,
money to
I mean, the
e-girls.
problem is, you think you're just a nice guy, but at the end of the day, you're still kind of using being nice as a means to get something. But if I just realize that who I am, like I'm part of this
The simp culture.
that's mostly the main culture at this point, I think, of the world is the simp culture.
Trying to think what would be some of the mainstays of simp culture? Like
I think just what it is now. I think we live in a simp culture.
we just live in a simp culture.
Yeah.
Supply and demand, baby.
Yeah. Again, I'm going down avenues that could lead to controversy, but I'll just say that it's okay to be a simp. And it's okay to be a virgin too. So
oh yeah. I was one for a long time.
I hope so.
But so let's talk about some of the movies that
speaking of virgins.
Yeah, speaking of virgins,
we're gonna talk about Spider. Because that's what virgins talk about. Anyway.
Oh god damn, that's funny. But yeah, no, I mean, clearly, like the topic of conversation that would have been prudent, 3 weeks ago was No Way Home. What did you think of the movie?
Well, I kind of discussed it in the last podcast that we did, which I think at this point was maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe 2. It was a while. It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since we recorded.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. I thought it was a good movie. The more I thought about it, the more I ended up liking it, actually. So one thing I think it did really well that I didn't really want to talk about previously because you hadn't seen it, I think it really respected the movies that came before, specifically the non-MCU Spider-Man movies, the Sony movies.
For sure.
And I liked how it brought in the villains and the previous Spider-Man without like kind of mocking them so much. Like they respected the stories that had come before.
Right.
Which I liked. It made it seem respectful. And it actually made it seem like a real story to me instead of just bringing in these characters just to have them there as sort of a nostalgia trip. And right. I also like that Spider-Man, Tom Holland, the main purpose of what he was trying to do, not necessarily that it made 100% sense, was he was trying to go back and save the villains that the other Spider-Man had ended up killing, which I liked that. I thought it was really cool.
Right. It speaks to like a little bit of his naivete in being so young by comparison to the other Spider-Man. But
like, well, I mean, I don't even know if that was the point, because even when the other Spider-Man came in, they had a change of heart too and wanted to save the villains.
Yeah. Well, and they themselves had attempted to, save those individuals. Like Peter, well, I guess Toby, like didn't want to kill Doc Ock. That was like a friend and mentor to him, but like that was some of Alfred Molina's and Tobey Maguire's conversations, just back and forth in that movie, were just so freaking sweet. Like just really nice, like friends catching up. No animosity, just like I'm back. It's really good to see you. Like just really nice. But no, I agree though. I did enjoy that that's where they went with it rather than like, Green Goblin trying to take over the world. Speaking of which, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin in that was like so stupidly evil, and it was so good. Like,
yeah, he's one of those people that, specifically William Dafoe as an actor, that I don't think I really appreciated like I do now. Just he's so incredibly weird and interesting that anything he's in, I'm always a little bit more excited to see it now. It's kind of the same with like even Nic Cage these days. After I saw Pig, I don't think I really understood why people like Nic Cage, but now that I saw the movie Pig, I'm I'm kind of a Nick Cage fan now. Yeah. And he's actually coming out with a new movie that kind of mocks his whole celebrity too, and his whole like niche. And it's something like the unbearable weight of talent or something like that.
Yeah, so like the title is so ridiculous.
And speaking of Nic Cage, it was his birthday yesterday. So I just want to say that I'm going to title this particular video, this podcast, Nick Cage's celebration, episode 33, Nerds of the North podcast.
Nick Cage celebration, where we mentioned him once briefly and then completely ignore him for the remainder.
We're not gonna. I'm gonna. No, man. We can't sit. No, he's a big part of why we are who we are. Let's admit it. Nick Cage, born January 7th, 1964, in Long Beach, California.
Long Beach. That's too funny.
Yeah, near where Matt was born. His actual name is Nicholas Kim Coppola, which many people don't know this, but he's actually related to the Coppola clan. He is part of the Coppola clan. So major, like the guy that directed The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola, I believe that's his uncle. So therefore, and also another interesting connection that Nick Cage has is he's, I believe, also the cousin of Jason Schwartzman.
I know that name. I don't.
Yeah, who's a common. I think he was in Rushmore. He was a main actor in Rushmore.
Okay.
And Robert Carmine, who you might know as the love interest in the Princess Diary movie starring Anne Hathaway.
Inspiring, truly.
Anyway, happy birthday, Nick Cage.
Happy belated birthday.
This episode is dedicated to you and everything you've given this country and the world.
Yeah, including the Declaration of Independence you once stole.
Yeah, exactly.
I do actually want to see that movie, though. I think that'll be I think that will be kind of a fun film to see, because he is, since the time, I definitely would have described myself previously as a Nick Cage fan. I don't think that ever stopped. I just didn't watch any more Nick Cage movies.
You should see Pig. That's a good film.
I'll have to add that to my list, because yeah, like the last, what was even the last movie I saw Nick Cage in? Not even, because I get Ghost Rider is one of my like guilty pleasure movies. Like I really enjoyed the first Ghost Rider that he was in. I never saw the second one, which I think was like Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to derail this, but this also ties in well to that closing trailer, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That was the final little scene at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, which, who knows, maybe we'll get a little Nicolas Cage action in that film, roaring onto our screens on that flaming black bike.
Actually, I was imagining, what I want is the live action versions of the characters from Spider-Verse to be ported into the like multiverse for the MCU. So I want Nick Cage in like Black Noir style Spider-Man showing up in the movies, because I think that would be super freaking cool, if not even just for a cameo.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. Let's see. Any closing thoughts on Spider-Man? Did I have any? I think the last thing I want to say about that film, because we promised we wouldn't stay too long on a single topic, and honestly, I don't know if I really have a lot to say on this. You know what else? I don't even think we'd want anything on the final episode of Hawkeye, but I think that's okay.
Yeah. Kingpin, yay! There we go.
Yeah, he might be dead. Maybe, who knows? I don't think so. But I think that what that movie did really exceedingly well, that made it work as well for me, was that they really gave Tom Holland sort of a send-off and an emotional journey that really ended the movie, where I was really excited to see, and I'm excited to see what they might do with Spider-Man 4 in the MCU. Hell, like I'm even on board to have an Amazing Spider-Man 3 now, which I definitely wouldn't have said before this film with Andrew Garfield. So
how bananas would it be for us to get sequels to the Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies now. Like that would be kind of nuts, right?
I think they should, honestly, especially the Amazing Spider-Man. Because to me, everything I've seen from Tom Holland, he seems kind of burnt out at the moment. So why not let Sony just make an Amazing Spider-Man 3 set in the Venom verse? Because there's nothing really, I don't know, contradicting that. Maybe there is, but people are theorizing that Amazing Spider-Man, that universe is actually the same one that the Tom Hardy Venom is set in. So why not just let them do their own thing for a little bit, and then maybe in like 4 years we can have a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, where he's a little bit more mature. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've pretty much loved every Spider-Man movie that's come out. Like the Tobey Maguire movies, like there definitely are my least favorite of each actor's run. Like Tobey Maguire's third movie, not exactly the best movie, but 1 and 2, and like Spider-Man 2 by all means was like considered one of the greatest superhero films of all time, like when it originally released. Like that movie was revered by many. I know both you and I were pretty obsessed with that movie when it initially came out.
It was good. Yeah, it definitely set the tone for the 2 decades we've had of Spider-Man or superhero movies since then.
For sure. And then Amazing Spider-Man 1 was like is still one of my favorite Spider-Man movies, really. Amazing Spider-Man 2, like I think they definitely did Electro dirty in that movie, but they redeemed him so hard in No Way Home.
Yeah, see, that's another thing I liked about this movie, is that it redeemed some of the things I didn't like about the previous Spider-Man movies.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there really isn't a whole lot to say about Spider-Man. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, like it's just so good. Like there really weren't that many. I can't really think of a ton of negatives off the top of my head of like things that bothered me. It was a great Spider-Man movie and a good movie in general. So 10 out of 10. Would spider again.
Would spider again.
Spider again.
Okay, what about Encanto? That came out, I believe, Christmas Eve on Disney Plus, but it was out before then, but I saw it on Christmas Eve.
Yep, I just watched that last night, and what a charming little movie that was. God in heaven, that was so good. My wife is now officially obsessed with the soundtrack from that movie. She's been humming and singing different songs from that.
Yeah, the only one I could really think of off the top of my head is We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Yeah, that's the one that she's super obsessed with. We Don't Talk About Bruno. And I did really like Luisa's song as well, like the Super Strong Girl. Like her song was really, really fun. I didn't realize it until the credits rolled. There was something kind of vaguely familiar about the music. And I was like, there's something about this that seems very similar to things I've listened to, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I didn't know that Lin-Manuel Miranda did the music for the movie.
Right, and he's the guy behind
Moana and Hamilton. Yeah, like that's what of course, that's what he's most famous for.
Right.
But he had another movie that came out. It was like another musical.
Was it TikTok Boom? Was that
no? In the Heights, I think is what it's
called.
In
the Heights, yeah. TikTok Boom was the one with Andrew Garfield that I do want to see on Netflix. But.
Yeah, I want to. I still want to see In the Heights because I love Lin-Manuel Miranda's music. It's fantastic. Moana is in my car right now as a CD. Like I listen to that pretty frequently. But yeah, no, Encanto is so good. Charming little movie. It follows the pretty much the same animation style. It's been chosen by the industry as realistic enough and
realistic enough. It's definitely the Disney like style at this point.
Yeah, sure. Eyeballs that are the size of grapefruits shoved into skulls that have been proportionately made for them.
Yeah, and strangely attractive female characters.
Yeah, I mean
that are well. I mean, I guess the main character isn't supposed to be attractive, but definitely her sister.
I mean, conventionally, I think that's kind of the point of like her character is to be, average. Like And I did really,
like us or me. I don't
yeah,
want to
I
say
mean,
you're not.
no, trust me, we're both average.
Hey, come on. Throwing me under the bus.
Hey, you were saying it yourself. Get out of here.
Yeah, I can say it about myself.
That is my word. Average is my word. No, yeah, like I don't know about you. I don't know a ton about Colombian culture.
Oh, I'm an expert. That's what I got my degree in, actually.
Oh, good. Then I'd really like for you to go in depth at length about this movie then, because I don't really know if there's any sort of basis for a lot of what we're seeing in this movie. Whether it be like old wives' tales or like stories that are common in Colombia. That's not something I'm super familiar with. Being a coffee drinker, I definitely am very familiar with drinking Colombian coffee. I have a bunch of it in my house right now. But outside of that, like there wasn't anything that seemed all too familiar to me. But I didn't know if you had any insights on that, just kind of off the cuff.
It's a country in South America that many associate with drug cartels.
Delightful. That has a lot to do with the movie.
I mean, there is a scene in the film where the grandmother's husband, I guess it would be the grandfather, gets killed by some violent men, but it doesn't really go into what was going on with that. So,
yeah, like I don't really know. Yeah, like the context behind his death, I don't really know either. I know that they had machetes, and that generally, a person with a machete is not a person you want to be talking to generally. So I think that's as far as they wanted context-wise to be in the movie. But yeah, really, really fun film. Like the music was really enjoyable, and just a fun story about a girl who wants to, rise to the occasion and to be, considered as important as the other members of her family, which I think can be really relatable for a lot of people, and to be, accepted and to feel important, to be special.
yeah, I bet her specialness was that she was normal.
Right. Yeah. Well, like, I mean, yeah, I guess if we're gonna, we don't probably want to go No Way Home, like we've dead and buried the whole spoiler thing there, but with Encanto, I guess we could be a little bit lighter. We won't go into like too deep of details, but it is a very
That scene where she had to like murder the one brother in the family, I was not expecting.
I know that really came out of left field,
it was
right?
really incredibly graphic, and I just wasn't expecting it.
And
Like,
I
I've never
couldn't
seen
believe
Disney make a rated R film like this before, especially when she launched into that whole like diatribe against Syrians. I had no idea that Colombians had such strong feelings about that war.
I was really more surprised by Andrew Garfield coming out through that portal as his Spider-Man, because that blew me away.
And then Nic Cage came into the movie too.
The multiverse is expanding at a rate I never thought possible.
Yeah, when Nic Cage walked out of that portal, I damn near crapped my pants.
I know. And it really set up nicely for the sequel of Encanto 2, stealing the Declaration of Independence.
Both Disney films.
Oh, God.
So that could happen. I mean, Warner Brothers is doing it with Space Jam. They just like threw everything into that movie. Disney hasn't done that yet. But
God, that movie was so terrible. I fucking hated Space Jam. So bad.
That's on like
I should say Space Jam 2.
Space Jam 2. Looking back on Space Jam 2, it's awful, but I can't say that I wasn't enjoying myself. So it's not going to appear on my top 10 list of the year for sure, but for enjoyment levels, I gotta say I was not bored.
There's too many flashing lights and sounds and characters to be bored the whole time. They're just like, remember when? Remember when? They're just like, you're a musket, and they're shoving more and more.
Right. And it gets increasingly violent. We're like, yes, I remember. All right. Please.
Like, I remember. Like, please, no more memories.
Why is LeBron like?
I don't want to remember.
Yeah, I'm not. LeBron, stop. I'm not.
LeBron.
I'm not ready for this.
Anywho,
Okay,
Encanto, great movie.
Encanto, a movie for the whole family.
Yeah, no, highly recommend it. It's I mean, it would be a great kids movie. It has its ups and downs in terms of the emotional roller coaster. My wife was just like absolutely in shambles by the end of this movie.
Huh, okay. Yeah.
Emotionally wrecked by this movie.
I think it was good. I definitely wasn't in tears. It's not a Pixar movie, so Pixar movie, like especially what's that film with the it's set in Mexico and there's
Coco.
Coco. Yeah, that movie is really a tearjerker near the end. Okay, what we're gonna talk about something else now. The next movie
else?
coming up,
And what else
we
did you
have
see?
Don't Look Up, which I have not seen yet. So this is gonna be all you, with me probably throwing out some comments here and there, just reminding the audience that indeed it was Nic Cage's birthday yesterday, and it's something that we don't want to forget. Not ever, not 100 years.
Not ever. Yeah. Don't Look Up was a Netflix movie that came out. The primary stars of the movie are Leonardo DiCaprio and J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence. For those not in the know,
who don't know her personally like we do.
Yeah, no, we talk pretty regularly. She comes over for tea. This movie has a stupidly long list of people in it that are very like revered in terms of actors. Just to name a few, we got Leo, we got J-Law, Kate Blanchett, Ariana Grande, Timothy Chalamet, Meryl Streep, Chris Evans, Jonah Hill, like Kid Cudi, Ron Perlman.
Kid Cudi? What?
Yeah. Like there are just a stupid number of famous people in this fucking movie. It's bananas. And I would highly recommend it if you want to be really frustrated.
Yeah. And this movie is directed by Adam Kay, who also directed Vice and a number of Will Ferrell films that have become well known, like Anchorman and Talladega Nights.
Yeah, he definitely like has a long history of like, I don't know, kind of cringeworthy movies. Not like cringeworthy in that they're bad, but cringeworthy in that like the characters in them are just wildly, you can't believe they're doing what they're doing.
I think he also directed The Big Short as well, which is a film I have not seen, but many seem to like.
Yes, I haven't seen that either, but you are correct. He did direct that. Yeah, no, I mean, the whole premise of the movie is that Leo DiCaprio and J-Law, their characters are Randall and Kate. They are working in an observatory looking into the vastness of space. I believe specifically they're talking about black holes and the light that they release, or the lack thereof, perhaps, but supernova explosions in space. And they find that there is a comet that is between like 6 and 10 kilometers in size that is hurtling towards Earth and gonna like just devastate the planet. And the rest of the movie is them trying to prepare the Earth for this event to take place. And it's super absurd, like, but I do think there is some level of truth in this movie as to how perhaps some of these satirical, maybe, but how publicized it might be and just how not seriously it might be taken. There are definitely some very serious nods at certain presidents that have come and gone, and definitely some people in the tech industry that get poked fun at in this movie as well. Just the state of politics and culture, or like media culture in general, in the US at any rate. Yeah, it's a fun movie. It definitely is frustrating to watch if that's all stuff, or any of that is stuff that bothers you. But But yeah, it's definitely not an amazing movie by any stretch, but it is a fun movie, I think, if you're willing to go with it for the ride.
Dead air.
Dead air. Yep. End of discussion. Next movie.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what to add. I think wasn't the whole point of it basically that if we encountered any sort of disaster, in this case, it would be a comet heading towards Earth, or it is a comet. It's not like a meteorite.
They call it a comet the whole time.
Okay, a comet heading towards Earth, and meanwhile, a lot of people just ignore it, or I don't know, a whole number of people.
I mean,
handle it in a whole bunch of different ways.
Yeah, like the name of the movie comes from a particular brand of red hat that has "Don't Look Up" written on it. That's being bandied about by one of the political characters in the movie. And it definitely is like, actually, I don't even think it was a red hat. I think it was just like a blue hat or something, but
Gotcha.
It wasn't quite that on the nose. But yeah, deniers of the fact that there was a comet at all. There are people who wanted to use the comet for whatever means they had in mind. And then those who were terrified, mostly the scientific community, that was like, we're going to die. We need to do something about this. Yeah, it's definitely a train wreck in terms of execution in some areas, at least in the story. But it's a fun movie. Like, I don't think it's been hailed as anyone as a masterpiece by any stretch. But
how did it honor Nic Cage?
How did it honor Nic Cage? Actually, little known fact, he's not credited in the movie as such, but he plays the comet.
See, that is a beautiful metaphor for Nic Cage's influence on our society.
Yeah, burning through the sky and eventually destroying the earth.
Happy birthday, Nic Cage. Happy birthday.
Let's see, what's next on our on our list here.
All right, moving on. We got Nightmare Alley, which is a movie directed by Guillermo del Toro, starring the likes of Bradley Cooper, and who else was in this movie? Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, another linking back to our Spider-Man movie. Toni Collette is in this movie. Nice. Ron Perlman. There's a lot of big hitters in this one as well.
I found it funny that a few of these movies I've all seen recently have had a lot of weird tie-ins. Like, yeah, Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, Ron Perlman. One of my personal favorite call-outs was David Strathairn. Is that how you say his last name? He plays a character in The Expanse. I really enjoyed.
Strathairn?
Yeah, Strathairn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays a character in The Expanse that I really enjoy. And is there anyone else that would be particularly noteworthy, at least off the top of my head?
Doesn't look like, at least according to Wikipedia.
Yeah,
I mean, we got a whole number of actors in this film, but I don't know if we want to know that Stephen McHattie played Hobo Number 1, or Paul Anderson was Geek Number 1.
It's an interesting movie. It was brought to my attention by my sister. She came and visited me from the Great White North, the north of the Nerds of the North podcast.
Yeah. We'll have a spinoff, the North of the North of the Nerds of the podcast.
Yeah, where my sister just has a brief cameo going, "Go fuck yourself." And then
Nerds of the North it'd be Nerds of the North of the North podcast.
Nerds of the North of the North. But yeah, it follows Bradley Cooper's character, who's he goes by Stan generally in the movie, but
Stan.
But I mean, if you're at all familiar with Guillermo del Toro, I really enjoy Guillermo's works. That I typically know him as a bit of like a monster man. He loves practical practical effect monsters in movies. And so things like Hellboy and Pacific Rim are the things that I know him for best. Pan's Labyrinth as well. I haven't seen that movie in years, but I do remember very much enjoying it. Oh yeah, and then Shape of Water, much more recent example. But yeah, it follows Bradley Cooper's character. It starts off like the beginning of the movie essentially is Bradley Stan burying a body in a house and then lighting the house on fire and then walking away from it. And then it just goes on from there. Stan essentially joins the circus and becomes a performer and begins learning the trade at the time, the act of mentalism, from the character I was actually just talking about, David Strathairn, who's Pete, as his name in the movie, and just like learning about all the different like circus characters, all of their little quirks and nuances, and then ultimately Stan falls in love with another woman in the circus named Molly, and they want to run away together, and that's kind of where the movie goes on from there. It's got a very dark tone to it. I think it's a really cool movie. If you're at all a fan of films like The Prestige, that would be like my best like comparison if you wanted to know something it was like. Has like kind of dark mystery type tones. You're not quite sure like who Stan is, like what Stan is as a person. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? You just have to watch and find out. But I would highly recommend it if you get a chance to see it. It's not one of those movies that needs to be seen on the big screen, though. Like I think that there isn't anything about it that would particularly be better enjoyed in the theater versus at home. So,
well, I think you know what question I'm going to ask next, Matt.
So actually, okay, this is another one that Nic Cage was uncredited for. So the house that burns down, that's Nic Cage. That's totally
It was the house. He's such an amazing actor.
I mean, he takes his method roles very seriously.
I've never seen acting like that before, where a man could become a house.
He immolated himself many, many times prior to the film to make sure he had a good idea of what it would be like to actually be a burning house. So when he actually did it in the movie, it's just a masterpiece.
Yeah, that's the best acting I've ever seen a house ever do.
The guy turned himself into a house and lit himself on fire. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that Guillermo found a way to include Nic Cage in such a shocking but respectful way.
So I guess this is something I didn't know. It says this film was adapted from something.
Oh.
I guess. Okay, so it is adapted from a novel, which I should have probably guessed.
Seems like most movies these days, especially prestige films, are adapted from something. Well, everything is adapted from something usually. But.
Right. If you go back far enough, everything's a reference to something. A long enough timeline, we're all copies of someone.
Dang, that's deep, Matt.
I know. I know. I'm really pulling out the stops here, my Fight Club references.
Well, let's move on. Unless you have anything more, we'll come.
No, I'd say go see it. I mean, if you like Bradley Cooper, I can't say I've seen him in anything that I would give a shit about recently, but Nightmare Alley, he was good. He is a good actor. And I think it's a fun, fun is not the term I'd use for this. It's a gripping tale. They'll definitely kind of keep you on your toes, but highly recommend. But if you're going to see it, you might as well wait until it's on whatever streaming platform you prefer.
Right. All right. Let's move on to The Matrix Resurrections, which Matt hasn't seen, just like I have not seen Nightmare Alley or Don't Look Up. But I think Matrix Resurrections was probably the best movie I've seen Nic Cage in yet. He plays every single role in the film. And the twist,
really?
Yes. He
So
plays
Tyler Perry's the shit out of this movie.
Yeah, it's really remarkable what Nic Cage accomplished in this film in particular. How he basically he is every single person in the Matrix is actually Nic Cage outside the Matrix. So there's a point in the film where every single person wakes up who's in the Matrix. And if you have never seen the Matrix, I'm not going to explain it to you because I mean I think everyone would knows what that movie's about at this point.
If you haven't seen the movie, it's been 20 years. You've had your chance.
Yeah. So when everybody in the simulation wakes up, it turns out they're all Nic Cage. Every single one.
Every single one.
Yeah.
They just decided, well, we have the perfect human in the form of Nic Cage, so we just cloned him a number of times.
And then that Neo actually he immolates himself in front of Nic Cage because it turned out Neo was the only person that wasn't Nic Cage in this simulation. And then Nic Cage basically shuts down the Matrix and then jumps in this whole big orgy pile with all the other Nic Cages. It was amazing. I didn't think the Wachowskis, the Lana would go there, but man, did she ever, and it paid off. No, seriously, that movie wasn't very good. Like the first half of it.
No, seriously, that version of it, that was the better version of the movie.
Yeah, no, the first hour actually I thought was pretty good. It felt like the first hour was a drama. If the movie it felt the most like to me at the beginning actually was Total Recall in a way. In a way.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely felt like there wasn't that many action scenes at the beginning of it, which I kind of liked actually.
Sure.
And it was more of a drama about Keanu like trying to figure out what was going on. He's a video game developer and he doesn't know if his therapist is really part of the Matrix or is actually trying to actually help someone that's mentally, screwed up.
Sure.
So that's kind of the whole thing behind it, at least in the first hour. And then the second hour comes and the whole movie just basically falls apart and it's not good at that point. And it makes really questionable decisions, I think, especially with Morpheus and recasting that actor. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think if they were, sorry. Yeah.
No. I mean, I remember that was my biggest gripe leading up to the release of this movie was that Lawrence Fishburne apparently had not been approached to be recast as Morpheus, which seems like a huge missed opportunity to get your holy trinity back. Like you got literally Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus. Why the hell would they not bring back all three? I don't know.
I don't think Lawrence Fishburne knew either.
No.
And it did come out too that apparently the Wachowski that was directing it, I think it was Lana, she they were filming it and then COVID happened and then she says she didn't even want to finish it. And I can kind of tell. I think there's a point where you kind of feel like no one wanted to be there. That's what it felt like to me. And if you watch it, they go after Warner Brothers so hard in that film. It breaks the third wall so much. It's crazy.
That's very interesting.
Not crazy. It's just I was shocked that it went there. That Lana was willing to go there. That she was basically they were in the movie. They're like, yeah, they were going to make the Matrix no matter what, and it forced me to make this movie. They almost say that in the film itself, which I don't think really worked for me. But
interesting. So yeah, that's very weird. I mean, I don't know. I guess if no one really wanted to be there, I mean, I had my misgivings about there being another Matrix movie because it just makes no sense given the way the third film ends for there to be any more Matrix movies. So
yeah, I mean, I kind of have this cool idea basically where there's when Keanu's developing these video games, somehow the people in the video game they act out the scene over and over again, so they're kind of trapped in this scene from the Matrix forever. And I just think a cool idea that they could have gone with would be maybe the next Matrix would just be these stereotypical movies, like a romantic comedy movie or a high fantasy movie or a superhero movie, and the people in those individual films slowly waking up that they're trapped in this Matrix or modal program and they have to get out of it to somehow get out of this Groundhog's Day situation they're in. Anyway, I don't recommend the film. I think it was pretty bad actually. Even the further I get away from it, the more I don't like it. So
yeah, I mean generally was what I'd been hearing about the movie, was that it wasn't very good. I probably will see it still, if only just to complete. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm against a lot of different movies getting sequels that I feel really don't need them. And I remember my first big uproar in that was like Toy Story.
I think Toy Story 4 isn't a bad film. I think it's actually.
I still haven't seen it, and I think part of it is.
I would say Buzz Lightyear, the Lightyear movie that's coming out, does sort of feel that way, though.
Yeah, well, actually, that movie to me is an exception because it's inspired by the source material of Toy Story, but it's so far removed from the original films as to be something that I think would be worthwhile exploring just by itself. I know my wife doesn't agree with me on that point. Like, she thinks it's a bad idea, and it could very well be an absolute pile of dog when it comes out. But I am of the opinion that I think Lightyear works for me better as a movie than Toy Story 4, but I haven't seen Toy Story 4. And I will maybe see it at some point, but I didn't ever feel compelled to see it though. Like, that was just not a thing that I felt like I wanted to see. Because Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, I thought was one of those like perfect movie trilogies. It just didn't need anything else. It was a complete story.
Yeah, I will say I will agree with you. The 1, 2, 3 does feel sort of like a complete story. The fourth one feels sort of like a denouement. So sort of what happened afterwards, but it's really well done, and it kind of it does explore basically what happens to you once you feel like you've completed your purpose,
Sure.
which is what Woody goes through in that film. So he
Right.
had his Andy, and now that Andy was gone, he has this new girl, and I can't remember what her name is.
I actually think it might, was it Molly?
That sounds right. Anyway, so she's not, he's not her favorite toy, and he sort of deals with that, but he still wants to do a good job. But Woody realizes that he's ready to move on to the next thing, and that's what the movie's about. And so he actually, since you're not going to see it, he leaves the rest of the toys and goes off on his own at the end of the film.
Interesting.
Yeah, he finds the sheep herder lady.
Bo Peep.
Bo Peep, yeah, and he goes off with her. But I think if they do a fifth one, which I think could work, if somehow the gang comes back together again, sort of as a Muppet movie sort of esque adventure where the gang's gone off on different adventures and they come back together, I think that'd be cool. I'm into it anyway.
I don't know, like
you're just a stick in the mud, Matt. You don't like anything.
No, I love plenty of things. My problem is that, like, I know that eventually this is going to happen. Like, this is what I've loved about Back to the Future. Back to the Future got 3 movies. It was a trilogy of films that told a story, and I think it did it pretty damn well. And then it ended, and that's it. And I know that there have been many pokes and prods from the internet and otherwise of like, is there ever going to be another Back to the Future movie? And most people involved or who own the franchise or the rights to that have been like, nope, not happening, not a thing. And I love that. I want that to be a thing. I just want it to be dead and buried. Like, it was great when it came out, and it doesn't need any more. Jurassic Park had kind of a similar vibe. I don't look at Jurassic Park nearly as irreverently as I do Toy Story or Back to the Future, because Jurassic Park 3 was not a particularly amazing movie, but it still was a 3-movie arc that had a beginning, middle, and end, and that's it. Like, it completed its story. Trilogies just tend to work out fairly well that way, and it's not always the case. But when a movie ends and it like just kind of bookmarks the end, it's like, all right, that's the end. The story's done.
Well, I mean, Jurassic Park 3, for what it's worth, did not feel like the end of a trilogy. It just felt like another entry into the
I would agree, yeah. Like,
into the Jurassic Park canon. I don't know.
But yeah, like I'm trying to think, it's kind of like how like Rise of Skywalker was with the new trilogy in Star Wars. Like, that movie feels like not only was it not a good movie, and don't get me wrong, it was a horrible movie, but
I mean, I
like
think its main issue really was
that Nic
that it
Cage
didn't have
wasn't in
enough
it.
Nick
I know.
Cage cameos.
I knew. But
Yeah,
like it does a disservice to the original trilogy of movies by like seemingly undoing things that were done there.
right. I think thinking about it now, we don't have to go too far down on this path. I don't think J.J. Abrams, as much as he loved Star Wars, really understood it.
Mhm.
He made it too pulpy and too. I'm thinking of the end when they go to Exegol or that planet,
Yeah, the Sith planet.
and they had a bunch of these giant star destroyers, and then like the whole galaxy shows up. It just didn't seem real. Anyway, felt too pulpy to me. It didn't seem something that would actually happen.
Mhm.
Which Star Wars, for what it's worth, like I'd always got the feeling that it was grounded. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but no, yeah, like, and there's other examples of, and it doesn't even have to be a trilogy of movies, but I do think that The Matrix told a story. It had 3 films, told a story that it followed Neo and then took him to the end of his journey. And that's it. Like, it's all we needed. We didn't need more of that. I see a 4th movie like that come out, and I'm like, this is just Hollywood being out of fucking ideas, apparently. Like, why?
That's a hot
Why
take.
just give it? Well, it's why they keep, and I mean, it's because we pay for this shit. We pay for shitty sequels to get made to things that don't need it
I
because we don't
mean,
want to go
if you
see
want,
something new.
I mean, Space Jam is the perfect example of what Hollywood thinks of us.
Yeah, actually, no, that's a fantastic example. That movie is dog shit. That movie is dog, capital D, dog shit. It is so bad. And it's just crammed full of just corporate bullshit. And we spoon feed us that shit. Gimme. Like, people love that. The movie's so bad, though. Oh my God, I hate that movie. It had so little to do with like what made the original movie good. And like, and even the original wasn't a fantastic movie. It's probably
Well,
rose-colored lenses, quite frankly.
I
But
guess my question for you right now is, what do you feel really about Space Jam 2?
it's so bad.
I feel like you weren't clear enough on what your feelings about that movie was.
I really wanted to just go to the top of a mountain and scream that how bad Space Jam 2 is, because I
Right.
just do not like that movie at all.
What I think we need is a progressive that, insurance commercials, the flow. We need a movie.
Go on. I am eager to see where this goes.
We they can make a cinematic universe based around that character
Oh my God. I can't. I
and all
think
like the side characters.
like I don't know if I'd ever step foot into a theater again if something like that ever happened. Oh God. But yeah, like something that you have to remind me. Are there 4 John Wick movies now?
There's
Or are they
3, and the 4th one is delayed till 2023.
okay? So having not seen, I've seen the original, and I wish to see the next 2.
The first one's the best, but the sequels are good too.
Yeah, and like, so I will be
Another
curious to
callback
see.
to Willem Dafoe, who's in the first one as well.
Yeah, God, I love Willem Dafoe, so good. But yeah, like a store or like a series of movies doesn't have to be just 3 to be good. It can be 2, or it can just be 1. There are plenty of movies out there that are just one-off films.
Or if you're the MCU, 27, 30 movies later and
Mhm.
5 TV shows.
Well, that's why, like, I think that's partially why the MCU has done so well, is because like every movie has references to other movies that makes it kind of familiar. So people really go in on that. It's something they know. Like, if I were to call it something, I would coin a phrase, the Applebee's effect, or perhaps the Starbucks effect would maybe be a little more appropriate, because like people want consistency. And that's what you go to Starbucks for, right? Like, you
That's
get
why you
your
go to a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. You want to
Yeah,
see a
actually.
sweaty man, slightly charismatic with nice eyebrows running around in a jungle.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like you want the thing that's familiar to you, and so like I think that's why the MCU has done so gangbusters. Is like I think the movies themselves aren't that remarkable. There are many remarkable things about the MCU. Just like bringing that many people together, like threading together a even like mostly coherent story out of all of that, I think is a good example. But like the movies themselves, I don't think any of them, with a few exceptions, are like that remarkable. They're not groundbreaking. They're just fine movies. They're good movies, but they're not like world changing. But
It's
some of what the
Eternals.
MCU has
Oh,
done,
sorry. Yeah, unless it's the Eternals. That movie set the world on fire.
yeah, everyone loved that movie. Unequivocally loved that film.
Yeah.
Because like I think you and I have talked about this before. I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but like the Winter Soldier feels like a really solid like spy movie without the context of the MCU being attached to it. But yeah, people love their familiar thing. You know, it occurred to me in that I've seen so many movies in the past several weeks that like Nightmare Alley and Encanto were both movies that had nothing to do with other things I had seen. They weren't sequels, they were just like original films. I was like, man, it's been a while since I've gone out of my way to do that. Like, and I think that's probably why new IPs they struggle to get traction in today's world. That's why I like Hollywood just pumps out the same bullshit they've done for like the last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pressures in Hollywood, I think, to produce a certain kind of film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those pressures are just continuing to build. And we can go into that. I think we could. I don't know if I want to today, but
no, we don't know. I know this is a rabbit hole. Do we have any other? I sorry, I feel like I derailed a lot of things here.
no,
But
I guess a few things. I have two questions for you. No, three questions. Three questions for you.
Sure.
What? Okay, so before we start there, yes, we will be talking about Book of Boba Fett, not this week, but we will be talking about that hopefully next week.
Sure.
The first three episodes. I've seen the first two. Matt's seen the first one, but we're not there yet to talk about it.
Not quite.
Yeah. Okay. Question number one: what movies / television programs are you looking forward to in 2022?
Well, I mean, definitely the remainder of the Book of Boba Fett. That I mean, being a Star Wars nerd, I'm super excited for that. In terms of movies, oh man, I mean, having not prepared for that question, I would say off the top of my head, I would say that the number one pick is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Actually, the Batman is coming out as well.
Ooh, yes, that is a very close second because I'm excited for a little bit darker, more like detective oriented Batman movie. I think that'll be really fun. Yeah, what films 2022? Is there anything in particular? I mean, I think we can all agree we're excited for Morbius.
Yeah. When that got delayed, and it did, I think got delayed till April. Literally, I couldn't get out of bed that day. Yeah, that was hard. That really hit me. Well, here's some movies. Let's just run through some movies. So we got Jurassic Park Dominion.
Don't care.
Apparently, Black Adam, which is a DC movie starring Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Do you see that one? I'm curious about a lot of the DC movies coming out because like the DC universe in terms of the movies are just like in their continuity has been kind of a dumpster fire, right? And so we have Black Adam, and then I believe The Flash is supposed to come out this year too, right? So
people are angry about that one.
Yeah, because of the main actor, right? Being
no, it's because they're going to say everything that happened in the DC movies up until that point is no longer canon anymore, or is no longer part of the universe.
Oh, so people are against them having a successful film franchise then. Okay, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Watch Wonder Woman 1984 and tell me that
Hey,
they've
but
done
I
good
actually really
movies.
liked, and I will give Warner Bros. Props for this. I really liked Suicide Squad. I thought that was good.
No, you're totally right. That movie is actually very, very good.
Uncharted is coming out. I don't care at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't really care, but I like Tom Holland, so I might see that movie. But I have not played a single Uncharted game.
Yeah.
It's been on my to-do list for a long time.
The Lost City, which is the first I've heard of this movie, starring Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that movie's got like some big names in it. Doesn't that have I think Brad Pitt's in that too.
Brad Pitt is a featured actor in this film.
Brad Pitt, Daniel Radcliffe is in that
Daniel
movie.
Radcliffe, yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is coming out April 8th. I could not care less about that film.
Oh my goodness.
But I did really think the fart jokes in the first were great. Really well done.
Really?
Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore comes out April 12th.
So there's a
J.K.
movie.
Rowling really put the gun to this franchise's head and pulled the trigger.
If there were a way for me feasibly to ensure that movie never saw the light of day, I would do it. I would do a great many things to ensure that movie never came out.
It's just so sad. It's just everyone hates J.K. Rowling now, and now her movies that she's behind and wrote the scripts to are just awful.
Like J.K. Rowling is a classic example of a human who like got their hands on the internet and were like, wait, I can tell everyone what I'm thinking all the time, and ran with that idea straight off of the fucking cliff.
We have the Northman coming out April 22nd, which is exciting. It's by Robert Eggers, who also directed The Witch and The Lighthouse, and starring Alexander Skarsgård. It should be really awesome. And it's a weird flex. I feel it's almost a weird reference to his character from True Blood, whose name was Eric Northman, and who was a Swede. Or a Northman. I don't know. Just like us, nerds of the North.
Maybe.
Oh, whoa. I didn't know this. Disappointment Boulevard comes out April 22nd, which is from Ari Aster, who directed Hereditary and Midsummer. Oh, man. I didn't know that. Starring Joaquin Phoenix. I'm excited.
Phoenix.
Doctor Strange, obviously. Exciting. Legally Blonde 3. Is coming out this year. Top Gun Maverick, Matt. I know what a huge Tom Cruise fan you are.
Remember what I was saying about Hollywood running out of ideas? Really? They're bringing that franchise? Okay.
Lightyear does come out June 17th. Jurassic Park, Jurassic World Dominion, June 10th.
I'm looking at this lineup, and there are a few things. Like, I'm curious about the Bob's Burgers movie.
Matt, Minions: The Rise of Gru comes out July 1st.
See that another. I mean, that's just a franchise of fucking. I mean, apparently, as millennials, we are
Krugy or Groogy or whatever.
As Cheugy's.
Cheugy. There you go. Cheugy.
Yeah. Apparently, we are labeled as minion lovers.
Yeah, Matt. Most people don't know this about Matt, but he is a minion. He's a Minions. He's a Minions fanboy. So if you were to move that camera even an inch to the left or right in his office there, you would see his Minions collection, and it would take up that entire wall.
Oh yeah, my whole PC is actually Minions themed. It's the buttons are Minions. My controller is actually a Minions controller.
We've tried to get him to stop, but he just
can't stop, won't stop. Baby.
Yeah, when a man loves the Minions, it's an addiction. Some might call it a disease.
how many of those fucking Minions movies have there been?
I don't know. I've only seen the first one, I think. Okay. Sorry. July 8th, we have Thor: Love and Thunder, which I am excited for.
Yeah, Thor: Love and oh my god, is this
Black Adam,
released?
as previously mentioned, July 29th. Mission Impossible 7 comes out September 30th. And this is, of course, if nothing gets delayed for the inevitable Megatron variant of the coronavirus.
Megatron. Yeah, I mean, we have Omicron. We need the Optimus version, and we need the Megatron version naturally.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, isn't the something that may ring true for us is that there's going to be another Transformers movie coming out.
Beast Wars. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
I'm
gonna
not
be like-
really. I'm kind of dreading that film.
I mean, I don't expect it to be good, but I am kind of excited to see like Optimus Primal and like Dinosaur Megatron on screen. That seems kind of fun.
Or Cheetor. I don't know. We'll see. I have my doubts, but
Rat Trap, Black Arachnia, Tarantulas. Got some.
they'll
That's a
never
bold-
include
that's a-
Tarantulas.
That would be
They
so
wouldn't
freaking
include
cool,
that.
though.
Yeah, he's just too cool. Hollywood, he shut
He's
down
just
Hollywood
too
and they knew
cool.
it. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 is coming out October 7th. The end of the Halloween franchise. Halloween ends October 14th. Yeah, sure. The Flash does come out November 4th.
Yeah, I
Black
just
Panther
don't-
November 11th, which I think that movie could be a hot piece of garbage, but we'll see.
I'm not really. God, there are just so many movies I'm just so on the fence about.
Yeah, Aquaman December 16th. And oh, how could we forget it? Okay, so we got Chris Pratt's Mario movie coming out December 21st, which I know I'm looking forward to. Knives
Oh
Out.
yeah,
Knives Out apparently is coming out sometime this year. But the big one that how could we ever forget about this movie is Avatar 2.
I will enjoy seeing that movie only because how many like false alarms have we gotten on this movie coming out next year, Avatar 2? Like, I feel like we've been seeing announcement for that since like 2014.
I will say this, as a James Cameron movie, you kind of expect it to totally upend the industry or at least make $2 billion at this point. So we'll see.
I mean, I feel like that movie cheated its way to being like the highest grossing.
Yeah.
Like, because fucking 3D tickets, man, are so goddamn expensive.
Yeah, and I don't like
comparison.
watching stuff in 3D. I guess there's a few TV shows coming out. We have Peacemaker coming out, I think.
Yeah, it comes out really soon. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I think actually
it's like-
tomorrow. Oh, sorry, no, I take it back. Comes out the 13th. Euphoria season 2 begins January 9th, which, as you know, as a Zendaya fan, I'm quite
excited for it.
excited. Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out this year.
Side note: Katie really likes Euphoria. She really liked that. She suggested it to Evan actually.
Yeah, I like it a lot as well. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, there's a lot. Like I think that Lord of the Ring show is coming out this year, as well as that Game of Thrones spinoff that I'm really not even excited to see. But
No.
I don't know. So there's stuff to look forward to. It could be a big year for the Nerds of the North podcast. This
I mean, if I was going to be honest, just like looking at what I'm seeing now, that I don't have high hopes for this year. I think is we're gonna have to just shut her down. The podcast will take a year off.
Yeah, it's time to pack it up, pack it in.
I mean, Lord knows none of this is gonna be very good.
Okay, well, that answers my question essentially. So, from you at least. And so the next question I have for you, Matt, is what are some New Year's resolutions for this year, 2022?
I mean, actually, I have been executing on a few things, or trying to anyway. My wife and I have done this previously, where we take January off from drinking. So we're doing a sober January.
I thought you were gonna be like, this year we're all in. We're going twice as hard.
And we're gonna drink twice as much. I would probably literally die. So yeah, we're doing that. We're also trying to be better about just our calories on a day-to-day basis. I I'm going to be honest. I hate New Year's resolutions, and I generally don't subscribe to them. And I still don't call what I'm doing New Year's resolutions. I am choosing the beginning of this year in order to execute on some life changes.
Yeah, like how it's like I hate New Year's resolutions. I do not like that. I don't stand by them. I think everyone that does them is really stupid. However, here's my goal for the next year.
No, I don't even think people are stupid. Like, I think it's a totally normal thing to.
I was putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, no, like I get it though. Like the new year seems like a good chance to like really try and do something different for yourself, right? New year, new you, that whole bullshit. But like these were things that I had been planning on doing previously. It's like so fucking hard to be like health and diet conscious while you are being force fed holiday foods and drinking and just celebrating, like New Year's Eve is an entire holiday basically designed for drinking. It's like right up there with St. Patty's Day. Like outside of bringing in the new year, champagne, baby, bring it on. But yeah, so no drinking for January at least, and then calorie tracking, and I'm trying to read more. So I've finished up a few comic books that I had been leaving unread for a while, and then I'm in the midst of I'm reading The Disappearing Spoon and Fish Don't Exist. Currently, they're probably not books that anyone has really ever heard of, but I will be starting Mary Roach's Packing for Mars soon as well. It's actually a bunch of books I'm going to be reading. But what about yourself? Anything planned? Do you like New Year's resolutions? Do you subscribe to the idea? If I offended you horribly.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I think you're right. I think once this new year starts, it's a good opportunity to look back at the year that you just lived through. Hopefully you're not dead yet, and think what you could do to improve on that year. So yeah, hopefully, I think it's a healthy thing to look back and do that. What is that saying? A life unreflected upon isn't a life worth living. Man, I butchered that. It's something like that.
As a side note, I came across some graffiti in a bathroom with some pretty sage advice. That was, "The naked man feareth no pickpocket."
Yeah, I mean, is that just giving up
That's where the
everything?
advice ends.
Yeah, okay.
Be naked, you'll never be robbed.
Just have your genitals exposed. But more apt to getting hurt, probably. Especially if you're walking out in the forest. Anyway, so yeah, I guess the one I'm willing to share is, yes, I'm writing. Well, I did write a novel. Now I'm working on editing it, so I'm hoping to get that done.
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way. That is a big achievement.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking to get that done by the end of the year, so hopefully sooner. But just the editing process, at least for like the second draft. So hopefully I'll be a published author someday in my life. We'll see.
I know there are so many other things that I haven't like really executed on in terms of things I want to do, but a lot of potentially big life choices coming up, and maybe 2022 will be the year where we can get the ball rolling on some stuff.
Yeah. And then the last question I had for you. Mm-hmm. So as we know, that yesterday was the Nicolas Cage's birthday, and I just wanted to know how you celebrated yesterday, how you're going to celebrate today, and how you're planning on ending the weekend after celebrating so hard. Like, are you going to continue to celebrate into next week, or are you going to end it today and like take a week off and like celebrate next weekend as well?
I'm fully planning on spending the rest of January actually celebrating Nic Cage's birthday.
By not drinking.
Yeah, by not drinking, being stone sober, and reflecting upon the life of Nic Cage every day. Yeah. I'll be using a different movie as my point of reflection and lessons I can take away from each of the movies. And the vast catalog that is Nic Cage's filmography. I have plenty of movies to choose from every day to to learn and to be able to apply lessons to my life and my marriage, especially. So that's how I'm celebrating. What about you though? What are you doing to honor Nic Cage?
I've been looking into joining a cult actually that studies Nic Cage and everything about him. So I'm looking into joining a cult. There's several around the city, and I just have to find the best one.
Now, when you say several cults, do you mean several Nic Cage cults, or just several cults? Oh, really? Multiple. So do you have some choices to make?
No, I guess what I'm saying, I'm specifically going to join a Nic Cage cult.
Oh, sure.
And not just any cult, one that celebrates and frankly worships the man. Because every day, every night, I think it's worth meditating on what Nic Cage is and what he may become in the future.
Which is a national treasure.
An apotheosis. Truly obtaining what man has always wished to achieve. So that's how I'm thinking of celebrating the birthday of Nic Cage.
I think that's really honorable of you, and I think we're both doing our part to really push the Nic Cage agenda forward, and I'm really hoping that the world could really truly begin to appreciate him and his talents in the year 2022.
That's what I would like to see, really. If there's anything that both of us would like to see achieved in 2022, would be the world appreciating Nic Cage just a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. Go out and watch whatever Nic Cage movie you feel brings him the greatest honor and brings you the greatest joy in your life this year, 2022.
Yeah.
Watch all of them. Watch every single movie he's ever been in. The more the merrier. So
yeah. Okay, that's good. I mean, we don't usually end our podcast on a PSA, but I think today we really did a good thing for the world today. So
I think that'll be our new thing, is giving a Nic Cage themed PSA at the end of all of our.
I think that's what we should do, and that's really the right thing to do.
It really is. We'll start playing some Sarah McLachlan. Have pictures of Nic Cage flying across screen.
Yeah.
Really drive the point home. We're serious.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I think that's probably gonna end it. I don't know if you want to end it like you usually do, Matt. But
no, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today for this episode of podcast, as ludicrous and sober as it may be.
Oh yeah, you're sober today.
I am sober. I drink constantly during the podcast, mostly for creative vibes and nerves. But today, we're going strong. I'm drinking coffee instead. I've had so much coffee today. But no, thank you everyone for joining us today in this ridiculous episode, as they always are. Next week we're probably going to be talking about Book of Boba Fett at length. Maybe anything else if we see any movies or shows in between there.
Leave it down in the comments.
Yeah, like suggestions for movies. We'll do our best to try and keep track of any suggestions that come our way. I know that,
and if you have a favorite Nic Cage movie, just
drop your below, favorite. Baby. Any Nic Cage movie at all, just let us know what your favorite is. That'll be fun.
You have to remember, from our vantage point, Nic Cage has appeared in every single movie from the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's actually funny. In Encanto, he plays the house. Another house role. You believe it? 2 in the same year. The man's a miracle worker.
Yeah, which it's remarkable because it's an animated film.
Oh yeah, no, like much in the same way that Vin Diesel plays the voice of Groot, Nic Cage, voiceless, played the house from Encanto.
And also, he was the house. He was the house in the movie.
Yeah, physically.
Physically, that was him. The rest of the movie is animated, but that was actually Nic Cage.
And as the house. There's actually some great behind the scenes footage of him making all the sound effects for the tiles chattering and the windows opening and closing. He made every noise that the house makes, and they just slightly tweaked it to make it sound more wooden or ceramic. Really impressive. Dedicated to his work.
Dedication. My name
this desperately needs to end.
It's going on too long.
No, thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back next week. God forbid. And you all have I hope everyone had a great holiday, however you celebrate the end of the year, and hope everyone has a great new year. Here's hoping, and here's knocking on wood loudly and firmly. Let's make this year better than the last two, shall we? And yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you guys next time.